And it's been 10 days since the deadly terror attack on a busy Thursday night in a Tel Aviv bar, leaving 3 Israelis killed. The hours-long manhunt after the terrorist at the very heart of Israel's cultural and business capital left the entire country shaken. The news cycle since has moved on, but for many of those who were at this dramatic, tragic scene, the horror is still very much present. And we want to turn now to Yuval David, a filmmaker, director, actor, and activist who was right there where it happened, where and when it happened, now already in Washington, D.C. Yuval, before we start our conversation, I want us to take a look at a video you've uploaded on social media while everything was still ongoing. Let's take a look.
So I'm here in Tel Aviv. We just moved as far away as possible from Dizengoff, where there was a terrorist attack. Apparently there are numerous terrorists who have shot people. There are at least 6 people who have been injured. I'm okay, and we're going to seek shelter, but the streets quickly are emptying, and the only sounds you hear are of helicopters and police sirens and ambulances.
So Yuval, talk to us about this decision to unpack it all immediately through this reflection piece you've made on scene. Was it a conscious decision or just, something more intuitive?
Well, I think in this era of social media involvement, so many of us are very quick to pick up our phones.
Right.
But the first call that I got was from my mother. She seems to have she has her fingers on the pulse of the news, especially Israeli news. And while we're sitting at the restaurant and starting to hear gunshots and seeing people run and scream, all of a sudden, everybody's phones started to buzz and ring with notifications. And it was important to let people know, those in my life, firstly, that I'm okay, that I was okay. But because so much of my life is dedicated to advocacy, even my life within the worlds of entertainment and media, I speak about Jewish issues and Israeli issues and humanitarian causes. And it just seems very natural for me to just talk about it. So firstly, to let people know that I was okay, and then to give people that inside perspective, because sadly, every single day when I pick up my iPhone, go onto my social media, I have many positive comments, but I also feel the brunt of so much anti-Semitism and so many attacks on Jews. So while being alive and while being safe, if I could do my part to say, this is what it looks like. This is what life in Israel looks like. And it just kind of happened very quickly.
But before we dive in further into your work in the world of activism, let's put it that way, as you've said, in general, it seems that many people there sought to an extent, mental refuge on social media while the event was still ongoing. Does it provide any sense of security, so to speak, that people acknowledge your presence there?
I don't think it provides any sense of security for people to acknowledge my presence there. What provides the sense of security is the immediate sense of community. Community is so very important for us. I was there with 2 fabulous, dear friends of mine, and to know that we were together already provides a sense of security. But one of the things that's so very unique in Israel is people are very quick to dive in, to help each other. I was at a restaurant where we were on an outdoor patio. We could hear the gunshots. People didn't know at that moment where we need to go. People ran into the kitchen and into the bathrooms of this restaurant to seek safety. And those who were reacting in a very excited way and with a lot of fear were being calmed down and supported by other people who immediately took charge. But this isn't my first experience with terrorism, sadly. And for most Israelis, this wasn't their first experience with terrorism. So many of us have had firsthand experience actually being in a location or knowing somebody who we love or a dear friend who was affected. And I think that in Israeli society, we're very trained to respond to things, yet that doesn't diminish the trauma. Even after it all happened and people were moving back out into the main areas of this restaurant and the bar area, trying to figure out, do they go back out onto the street? Do they rush home? Do they stay inside for safety? People were trying to figure out what to do. The waitresses around us were afraid to go outside, and they were crying, especially those who had just recently finished their military training. So you see the trauma, you see the PTS. I don't call it PTSD because I don't think it's a disorder. It's
a reality.
Trauma. It's a reality.
Yes, and we're seeing those chaotic images from the scene as we speak on screen. You've mentioned, Yuval, the mixed reactions you're receiving on social media. What picked up your attention this time around?
What picked up my attention this time around was the fact that there were so many heartless messages from people saying, well, you Jews get what you deserve, especially because what you do to children on the other side of the wall, or what you do to Black trans Palestinians, and Israel systematically being this apartheid state, and all of those tropes and those reframing of a false narrative that people are sharing. And instead of saying, how frightening, I'm glad you're okay, it's this dehumanization of Israelis and truly of Jews. Because in this wave of attacks that's been going on in Israel, it's not only Jews who've been targeted. There are Arab Israelis, Muslim Israelis, Christian Israelis, Jewish Israelis, women, children, men, LGBTQ, straight, religious, secular, whatever it is. Human beings. And to attack a human being is to attack a human being. And we need more support and more people to step out and speak up and say, it is not okay to attack a human being. Violence is not the right way.
Never is. Yuval David, filmmaker, director, actor, and activist. Thank you very much for this, and we hope to see you again very soon on our show. Thank you very much for sharing your insight with us.
Thank you.